What's good, potato chips? Welcome back to this week's weekly recap. Took 5 trades this week, 3 wins, 0 losses, 2 break evens. As you guys can see, did not trade on Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, good days. Thursday was a good day as well, and then Friday was a break even. Secured another $15,000 payout this week, so all in all, good week. All these trades were took live in the Discord. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the charts and let's go over the trades. All right, so starting off with Monday, I was pretty bearish coming into Monday. We had this unfilled hourly above us and we had previous day lows below us. So what I was really looking for was I wanted to see a push higher at market open, tap into this hourly gap and then continue towards previous day lows. Or if we took out previous day's lows first and then maybe had a 5 or 15 minute gap open up right here, then we could have gap modeled it towards that unfilled gap. However, at market open, we ripped up straight into this hourly fair value gap, and then on the way up as well, we created this 5-minute bullish gap. So if I really was truly bearish on the day, I would want to see this bullish gap get inverted, and then we had cleared targets below, right? We had all this LRL along with previous day low. So what ended up happening is we tapped the hourly fair value gap, which gives us our high time frame narrative, right? Because it's a bearish gap that wasn't filled. So we went up and filled it. Next candle, we ended up inversing this 5-minute gap. So not only are we respecting bearish PD rays on top of being bearish overall, but we got a 930 manipulation higher, and then we're disrespecting bullish PD rays as well. So what ended up happening is we ended up inversing this 5-minute gap right here at 944. I entered off the candle closure of the 5-minute inversion. Typically, I'll set a limit order when 5-minute inversions happen. However, this was damn near a perfect close for a 5-minute inversion, right? Because typically, if we have a 5-minute IFVG, the close will be down here, and then we'll come up and retap this inversion. So I'll set a limit order at the inversion due to bad RR reasons. But this RR on the trade was still a 1-to-1. So I entered strictly off of the 5-minute inversion. My stops were at the top of the 940 candle due to the fact that I still wanted over a 1-to-1 on the trade. And if I put them at the swing highs, well, it would have gave me negative RR. It would have gave me 0.91. So, and I wasn't also willing to risk that much as well. And I don't really like negative trades. So I entered strictly off of the 5-minute inversion. Stops at the top of the 941 candle. Price danced in our stop loss just a little bit. We ended up creating an SMT with ES. As you guys can see right here, ES is trending way higher, right? And this was, ES was also in a fair value gap as well. So clear bullish structure. Now we also got a, or bearish structure, sorry. We also got a bearish SMT to confirm our bias, right? I almost get stopped out. And then what does price end up doing? What is my target? My target is previous day lows, right? And then we have all this LRL below us. So as price is coming down, these lows right here was my break-even point due to the fact that it wasn't that bad of a break-even point, right? 0.6, I tend to aim for I would say about a 0.6 or higher for my break-even points. Typically when it's a 1-to-1, I don't really have a break-even point, but since we had this high time frame narrative that we were going bearish, and then we inverted this 5-minute bullish gap along with creating a 5-minute bearish SMT. I was pretty confident that this was a good break-even point due to the fact that, okay, maybe sometimes the way market has been moving, we've been leaving significant draws of liquidity and then just reversing. So my take profit was the previous day lows, kind of edged them a little bit, and then we came down and took out PDL. And then what do we end up doing after that? Well, we ended up actually reversing and then continuing higher and higher. So damn near bottom ticked it, right? What was our high time frame narrative? Our high time frame narrative was this 1 hour unfilled gap along with hourly sweeps of liquidity right here. And then to confirm my entry, we inverted this 5-minute gap targeting previous day lows with a break-even point at these 5-minute internal lows right here. So this was just a simple PDI strategy, right? We come up, tap a high time frame narrative, get an inversion, and then we're trying to catch that pre-distribution inversion, which we exactly did. And we targeted previous day lows as our take profit. So one and done on Monday. Let's jump on over to Tuesday. So jumping on over to Tuesday, this is what we had, right? We had a clear bearish structure, right? And here, let's go to the 1 minute or the 1 hour, sorry. So prior to market open at, let's go to 8 a.m., right? So we have all this LRL on the hourly. So this is high time frame, low resistance liquidity. These 4 right here, along with these 2 down here. And then we have targets way lower if price decides to shit the bed that much, right? I wasn't anticipating on price to shit the bed that much, but these were general targets of good low resistance, high time frame liquidity that were in the general area of price, right? Because price is right here. And well, it's only 118 points away, and we are already in a bearish structure. So that was my targets on the day. So I was really just trying to build confluences or conviction for price to go lower, and that's exactly what we ended up doing. So let's jump to market open. As you guys can see, we have a fucking plethora of SMTs. All right, so market opens right here, and what do? Well, we have an Asian SMT, right, from pre-market, as you guys can see right here. We do not take out Asian highs. What do we do on ES? Well, we end up coming up on ES, sweeping out everything, right? We sweep out Asian highs, we sweep out these 515 highs, market open highs, everything gets taken out, right? So we have a plethora of SMTs, and as you guys can see, NASDAQ shit the bed as ES was trending higher. So Asian high SMT, right? Hourly SMT, and then this market open SMT. So there is my bearish confluences, along with we create lows on the 15-minute, open up a 15-minute bearish gap, right? What do? Price trades up into the 15-minute bearish gap. What do we end up getting? Well, we have a 5-minute bullish gap right here. And if we're bearish, well, we want it to be disrespecting bullish PDRAs and respecting bearish PDRAs, right? So what are our bearish PDRAs? Well, we have these 3 SMTs along with a 15-minute gap and clear targets lower. And then our bullish, or 15-minute fair value gap. And then our bullish 5-minute fair value gap ends up getting ran through right here with this 10-15 candle. So what I did is I entered strictly off of the 10-15 candle. And then we had 15-minute internal lows right here, along with all this high time frame LRL below us that I showed you guys in the beginning of this video. So we get the 5-minute inversion, stops at the internal SMT highs right here, and take profit. I took one and only take profit at these 15-minute internal lows, but if you guys held runners, just because I only go in with 1 mini, so I wanted to secure profits for the day. But if you guys go in for multiple contracts, you guys could have took one partial out right here and then held the rest down to all this high time frame LRL. And as you guys can see, price ended up trending down and then took out, I believe, all draws on liquidity for the day. And yeah, that was it. This was called out in the Discord. Just a classic continuation model, right? We're in a bearish structure. We built bearish conviction. Why? Because we had high time frame SMTs, we had internal SMTs, and then we also retraced into a 15-minute bearish gap, which was then our condition. And then to confirm our entry, we inversed a 5-minute bullish for value gap, entered strictly off the 5-minute inversion, again, stops at the SMT highs, and then clear targets below, right? We had all this, once again, let's go over it one more time. We had all this high time frame LRL on the hourly, which was great targets on liquidity. And then we also had this 15-minute internal low. So when we came down and edged all this high time frame liquidity right here, that was perfect because my eyes ended up lighting up because we ended up creating relatively equal lows, right, with all this high time frame LRL on the hourly, and then we retraced into a condition, which was then our 15-minute fair value gap, and we got an inversion out of it, which was our highest time frame leg with the 1 through 5 minute. In this scenario and the previous scenario, they were both 5-minute inversions that we went ahead and entered on with clear targets lower. I will leave the conditions video and the continuation model down below in the description. So if you guys don't know what to look for in those specific scenarios, go check out those videos. But yeah, that was my one and only trade on Tuesday. I was done for the day. Discord, some people in the Discord held it all the way down here to these the last liquidity, the last LRL right here on the hourly. And so they ended up banking as well. But like I said, I took one and only take profits at this this 15-minute internal low right here. And yeah, that was it for Tuesday. Moving on over to Wednesday. So moving on over to Wednesday. Wednesday was a no trade day for me. However, price action was pretty good, but we didn't get no retracements. We just shit the bed the entire time. So I was looking for a continuation model. We did have this SMT at market open. However, I didn't take it because we inversed this 5-minute gap pre-market or prior to market open about 20 minutes to prior open, we got this 5-minute version right here. However, I don't log on until 9:30 in the morning every single morning, unless if we have 8:30 news, then I'll look for a pre-market trade. So I wasn't looking for a pre-market trade. But then we ended up inversing this 5-minute bearish gap to the upside. So I was waiting for further confirmation. I wasn't too convicted due to the fact that we ended up inversing these 5-minute gaps back to the upside, but we still had this SMT in our favor, right? We ended up shitting the bed with clear targets low. We have all this LRL right here. We have London lows. We have this low down here. We also have this 4-hour low right here, which if we go to the 4-hour, I'll show you, right? So we have this 4-hour low, this 4-hour low, this 4-hour unfilled gap. So we had clear targets low. So all I was really doing was seeing how price reacted off of London lows and trying to catch a continuation model down to this high time frame liquidity down here. However, on the 5-minute, market opens, we shit the bed, which was perfectly fine. And then we shit the bed even more, creating this 5-minute bearish gap. So what I was waiting for was a retracement into this gap right here, and then we can target London lows along with this this low right here as our take profit area. Look for an inversion somewhere in this leg right here. That was where my mind was at. However, as you guys can see, we ended up just shitting the bed. So I was like, okay, let's see how we react off of London. If we can get some sort of reaction off of London, maybe we can target this unfilled 5-minute right here as a gap model. However, we took out London and then just kept displacing lower and lower and lower. So really all I was waiting for was a retracement. So this confirmed my bearish bias on the day, because we swept out London lows, and if we were bullish for whatever reason, we would have took out these London lows and this low right here, and then would have saw a reaction out of it. But since we didn't see a reaction out of it and we seen displacement through the London low, okay, well, where was our next targets? Our next targets was these 2 4-hour lows and this 4-hour unfilled fair value gap. So I was then either looking for a retracement into this 5-minute or a retracement into this 15-minute, whatever came first, and then an inversion out of there for a nice continuation model. However, as you guys can see, price just ended up shitting and shitting and shitting, and I know I didn't take this continuation model. Why? Because it's so premium if we're trying to short, right? This is nowhere near equilibrium on the range. Nowhere near it at all, right? So we ended up coming into that 5-minute, and there was no inversions on the 1-minute. There was nothing on the 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute, or even the 30-second. So that was the reason why I wasn't looking for a continuation model out of this 5-minute gap. I wanted to see it come up and hit that unfilled 15-minute. And yeah, price came down, took out this first 4-hour low. We continued lower and lower, took out, I believe, took out all of them as well. Yeah, took out the second low. And then we edged that 4-hour for value gap, and I don't know if we ended up tapping into it or not. But yeah, by the time price ended up doing that, I was already off the charts for the day, right? We shit the bed about, how do I do this? We shit the bed about 400 points at market open. And if you guys know anything about market structure, if we have a 400-point move, most likely the rest of the day, we're just going to be chopping around, right? And I was not trying to sit in any of this, also due to the fact that this last line was a unfilled 4-hour for value gap. So if I was looking for longs for whatever the fuck the reason was, right? Say we did build conviction that we were going to go long, at very minimum, what I want to see was this 4-hour unfilled gap get hit, and then maybe we can go long. But yeah, Wednesday, no trade day. There was news in the afternoon on Wednesday at 2 p.m., but that didn't really end up mattering. We ended up just shitting the bed anyway, 400 points right at market open. And then Monday and Tuesday had no news as well, so I wasn't really looking for anything there. So not much to cover on Wednesday. Bias was correct, right? Took out all of our draws, just couldn't get a entry. It is what it is. It happens, right? We don't want to force an entry. Yeah, just because we're bearish, we're not just going to press sell, because at any moment price can come up and retrace and possibly stop us out. So that is the reason why I did not enter on Wednesday. Yeah, so not much to cover on Wednesday. Let's jump on over to Thursday. So Thursday, we ended up having news at 8:30, and then we also had red folder at 9:45. So I was keeping an eye out for the news that came out at 8:30 due to the fact that, okay, if I am going to take a pre-market trade, there has to be a reason for me to be in the market for pre-market. And in this case, it was, right? We had 8:30 news. So what ended up happening? I actually took this trade on ES, which is crazy because I haven't taken a trade on ES since I first started trading. But what did we have on the 15-minute? We had this low right here. Oh, go ahead and change that to black, right? So I was still bearish overall, right? Bearish essentially this entire week. Yeah, we had these relatively equal highs from London and Asian session. However, we were so bearish overall and we were pretty far away from them. I wanted to see some sweep of sell side so then we can go ahead and reverse. Excuse me. So we had this 15-minute low down here. Nothing really on the hourly. There was nothing on the 4-hour as well. And then there was these 15-minute lows as well. So we had news at 8:30. So let's jump on over to 8:30, right? So this 15-minute fair value gap opens up. And then what do we do when news comes out? How does price react, right? News comes out right here. Okay, so what do we do with the news candle? Well, we have a daily news candle, and if we're going to take out the highs first, we're most likely going to take out the lows of the daily news candles. And if we take out the lows first, then we're most likely going to retrace back up to the highs. So I was kind of playing both sides right here. If we did take out the highs first, okay, cool. I'll be looking to short towards the lows. And then again, if we took out the lows first along with this 15-minute relatively equal low right here, then I could be looking for a long up and towards these data highs right here. Well, what ended up happening? Well, we kind of chopped around, and then what did we do? We came into this 15-minute fair value gap right here and ended up doing what? No 5-minute inversion, right? What else do we have? There was no 4-minute. There was no 3-minute. There was this tiny 2-minute right here along with this giant 1-minute fair value gap as well. Okay. So after we came out, took the data news, came up into this 15-minute gap along with being bearish, and we have equal lows with data lows and a relatively equal 15-minute low as well. We went ahead and inverse this gap. I entered off the 1-minute inversion as stops at the swing highs and take profit down towards the 15-minute low, which was also equal lows with data lows for the 5th time. What do? We end up coming down, and I ended up pulling out right here. So I did kind of get a negative RR on this trade. My actual entry or exit point was right here. So I had a 0.9 RR on this trade due to the fact that NASDAQ came down and took out these data lows first. So we created a bullish SMT, and last time I held with a bullish SMT going against my bearish bias, I ended up getting stopped out at break even. So I took my profits, even though none of my targets have gotten hit yet. But then as you guys can see, a couple minutes later, we ended up coming down and taking out everything. So that was my trade pre-market. Let's jump on over to the continuation model I ended up taking in the actual market with my Discord. So like I stated before, we had these essentially equal highs with previous session. And then on NASDAQ, we ended up coming down and taking out this hourly low right here. But there was no gap model to an unfilled 5-minute or unfilled 15-minute. So I was staying patient. I was now bullish on the day, right? If we displaced through this hourly low, then okay, I could have found targets below us, but we ended up taking out this hourly low and then seeing some form of reaction out of it. So I was staying patient. My targets were essentially this LRL right here that built up, and then my main target was these equal session highs, right? So I wanted to wait for a condition to open up. We had a 5-minute right here that I wanted to see price come down into, and then okay, maybe we can catch an inversion out of this leg right here and target those previous session equal highs. But what did we end up doing? We ended up continuing higher, just trending higher. And at this point, I was waiting for a retracement into a condition, right? Don't just want to enter because you see price going up. We want to stay patient and enter off our setup only, right? So we ended up coming higher, and then what do we end up doing? Well, we ended up retracing into this 5-minute gap, which was also a 15-minute fair value gap as well right here. So we retrace into our conditions, and then what do we see coming out of, holy fuck, it's freezing, I'm literally shivering. What do we see coming out of it? Well, what ends up getting formed? We create a 5-minute bullish gap right here. So now, okay, cool, we tapped into our conditions. This is our highest time frame inversion that we can go ahead and invert off of. So all I'm waiting for is price to invert this 5-minute gap, and we can target this high right here along with this LRL and these equal session highs, right? We don't get an inversion with this candle, but we do get an inversion with this last candle, right? Okay, so what was my entry model? Well, I ended up setting a limit order at the 5-minute inversion, but I didn't get tapped in right here for whatever reason. And then I kind of seen price go up a little bit, so I was like, fuck it. It's close enough to my close enough to my limit order. Let me just go ahead and enter. I was severely convicted that we were going to continue higher and higher and higher. We had this 3-minute unfilled fair value gap. Where was it? It was right here. So this was my break-even point, kind of a shitty break-even point. If I'm going to keep it a buck with you guys, right? It was a 0.58, so almost a 0.6 break-even point. So not the best break-even point, but it was a W break-even, because if we ended up seeing what price ended up doing, my stops were at this order block down here. We end up coming up, hitting my break-even point, and then what do we end up doing? I got stopped out at break-even, but what did price end up doing? Well, it ended up reversing. So even though we had equal session highs with this high right here as well, and then this LRL to the left of us, well, price just ended up reversing, but who gives a fuck? We got stopped out at break-even. Our break-even point, again, was this 3-minute inversion. 3-minute fair value gap that was unfilled. And yeah, I ended up getting stopped out. I wasn't mad at all with the result. A plus setup, right, presented itself. We come down, tap into our conditions in a clear bullish structure right here. Come down, tap 15 and a 5-minute bullish condition. We also disrespected a 5-minute bearish gap. Enter off the 5-minute inversion, targeting equal session highs, which is a great draw on liquidity, along with this high right here that you guys could have took partials at. However, it just didn't end up going our way, right? So it is what it is. It happens. And yeah, that was it for Thursday. Let's jump on over to Friday. Before I go over my trade on Friday, I want to go over this gap model trade that ended up working out, but I ended up just forward testing it due to the fact that we had fucking pals bitch ass speaking at 10 a.m. right? So I didn't want to trade anything before 10 a.m. But as market opened, we trended higher. And what do? Well, we created this 5-minute bullish fair value gap that was left unfilled. But what was our high time frame conviction for this gap model? Well, like I said, to those prior examples on Thursday, we had these equal highs that still have not been taken out from the previous session. But what did ES go and do? ES went ahead and took them out. So, okay, that was our higher time frame narrative. And then what do we end up getting out of the higher time frame narrative? Well, I believe there was an internal SMT as well. We ended up sweeping past these highs right here. Let's take a look together. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, there was this internal SMT as well. So we had a double high time frame SMT along with this internal SMT. And I've forward tested double SMTs, I think 9 times now, and they're 8 for 9. So very, very, very high win rate when you have double SMTs. Like I said, I just wasn't going to go ahead and enter before news came out, because who knows how long I was going to be in this trade for. And I didn't want to be in a trade when news came out. So we ended up getting this 1-minute inversion, right? You could have entered off the inversion, stopped at the SMT highs, and your take profit down to this unfilled 5-minute gap right here. And this was a beautiful, beautiful gap model, retracement model, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And when it ended up hitting within like 5 minutes or so, let's see, enter the trade right here, 9:53, and you're out by 9:56. So you would have been in the trade for 3 minutes. It would have hit, but if it took any longer than that, this is what I was trying to avoid right here. Powell fucking spoke, and the market shot up 200 points in 1 minute. So I was trying to avoid that. Like I said, did not want to trade prior to news or during news. If I was going to take a trade on Friday, it was going to be after news. And I actually ended up taking a gap model down to an unfilled gap, right? So what ends up happening, we have this 5-minute up here. What do? We continue higher and higher and higher. And well, what do we have? We have this unfilled 5-minute right here, and this unfilled 5-minute right here. And you might be like, well, why are you trying to short in a clear bullish market? Well, here was my conviction, right? ES was so much higher than NASDAQ, and ES actually came and took out all of this high time frame, low resistance liquidity. And as you guys can see on NQ is nowhere near this liquidity up here. So ES was trading all the way the fuck up here. So we had a plethora of high time frame SMTs. And then let's go and check out what else I wrote down, right? We had a high time frame SMT, we had a 1 hour fair value gap, a 15-minute fair value gap, and a 2-minute IFBG. So where was our 1 minute or 1 hour fair value gap? We came up and tapped into this 1 hour bearish gap right here. And then in the same area, we had a 15-minute unfilled gap that was right here as well. Okay, so that was our high time frame narrative. We had all those high time frame SMTs. We had a clear target below us, which was both of these 5-minute gaps. And we tapped into a 1 hour and 15-minute unfilled bearish gap as well. So what did we end up doing? Well, what was our entry? Yeah, there was a 1 minute. Okay, there was a 2 minute right here. Was there a 3 minute? No 3 minute. Okay, so we entered strictly off of the 2 minute inversion, which is going to be this. Let me make it like green so you guys can see where the inversion happened. Okay. I went ahead and entered off the candle closure, stops at the highs right here. My break even point was this first 5 minute unfilled gap, and my take profit was the second 5 minute gap. So pretty quick break even point. It was a 1.39 trade. As you guys can see, I got edged of my take profit, and then price ended up reversing and stopped me out at break even though we just fucking trended up like 350 points, whatever. My take profit got edged by 8 points, and I wasn't mad about it. I didn't even want to trade this day anyways. However, I did find a good gap model, and again, I'll leave the description to the gap models, or leave the link in the description to the gap model if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, overall, this was another A+ setup. Stops at the SMT highs. Here is what the 5 minute chart looked like. I got edged and ended up getting stopped out at break even, and I was not looking to trade anywhere the rest of the day because, again, if you guys know anything about market structure, if we shoot up fucking 365 points, well, we're most likely just going to chop the rest of the day. So that was really the only entry point I was looking for. And then, well, what did we end up doing? Well, we just ended up chopping the rest of the fucking day. So that was it for me. 3 wins, 0 losses, 2 break evens on the week, secured a $15,000 payout. So let's jump on over to Forex Factory and let's go over the news for this week. So starting off on Monday, we have orange folder at 10 a.m., which is cool. Typically, we have no news Mondays, so this should bring volatility somewhat to the market. I don't really care about orange folder, so if the entry point does present itself before 10 a.m., then yeah, I will go ahead and enter. So expect some volatility on Monday. Tuesday, orange folder all day, same thing. Not really looking to trade pre-market for orange folder. However, if the opportunity does present itself, sure, go ahead and target those data highs and lows. Typically, orange folder doesn't offer as much volatility as red folder, right? Everyone knows that. Moving on over to Wednesday, essentially no news Wednesday. Don't expect much, just going to treat it like any other day in the market. And then Thursday, we have news at 8:30. So I'll be monitoring the market at during pre-market, seeing if we take out data highs, data lows first, build conviction, and then hopefully catch a trade there so I don't have to trade actual market open. But if we don't catch a trade for whatever reason, if nothing presents itself, we have orange folder at 10 a.m. Like I said, I'm not worried about 10 a.m. news. So if an opportunity does present itself before 10 a.m., then sure, go ahead and take it. That's how I typically trade news. And then same thing applies to Friday, right? We have red folder at 8:30 and orange folder at 10. So I'll be treating Friday exactly how I'm treating Thursday. Looking to catch a trade pre-market. However, I'm not going to force anything. If it presents itself, perfect. If it doesn't, cool. We'll wait till market open and then not really worried about this orange folder. But there should be volatility in the market towards the end of the week. So yeah, that's essentially all the news for this week. With that being said, I will catch y'all boys at 9:20 tomorrow morning with a daily bias in the Discord. Discord link is in the description. Everything's free. Go ahead, join it if you want to. And with that being said, let's have a great week. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll catch y'all boys tomorrow.